Outgrowing God, Chapter 3, Misses and How They Start. In Chapter 2, I talked mainly about the New Testament, dealing with more recent time than the Old, which is the Bible's best shot at being history. I won't spend long on the Old Testament. It takes us further into the shadowy realm on myth and legend, and biblical scholars don't take it seriously as history. But myths are interesting and important in their own right. And this chapter will use the Old Testament as a starting point to take a look at myths and how they start. Abraham was the original patriarch of the Jewish people and founder of the three main monotheistic religions in the world today: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. But did he really exist, as did Achilles and Hercules, as did Robin Hood and King Arthur? It's impossible to know, and there is no positive reason to think he did. On the other hand, Abraham's existence is not an extraordinary claim requiring extraordinary evidence. Unlike Joshua's long day, or Jesus' resurrection, or Jonah's living 3 days in the belly of a big fish, Abraham's existence, or not, is no big deal. There just isn't any evidence, one way or the other. Same with King David, another great hero of Jewish history. David made no impact either on archaeology or on written history outside the Bible. This suggests that if he exists at all, he was probably a minor local chieftain rather than the great king of legend and song. Talking of song, the Song of Solomon, also known as the Songs of Songs, which is a better title for it certainly wasn't written by King Solomon. It's the only sexy book in the Bible. It's pretty surprising the Council of Nicaea allowed it in the official canon. Here's something rather funny about it. The King James Bible, the most famous English translation, has commentary lines at the top of each page. The song is a wonderful poetic expression of sexual love between a woman and a man. But what does the Christian commentary say at the top of the page? The mutual love of Christ and his church. Priceless. And utterly typical of the way theologians think. Ignore what is actually being said and pretend it was all intended to be a symbol or a metaphor. There is some beautiful English writing in the King James Bible. Ecclesiastes is at least as good as the Song of Songs, although its poetry is bleak and world-weary. If you read nothing else in the Bible, I recommend those two books, Ecclesiastes and the Songs of Songs. But make sure you read the King James Version. Translations into modern English just don't work. As poetry, that is. They do work if you want to get a truer idea of what the original Hebrew said. And that's likely to help you understand things that religious teachers might prefer you not to understand. If you don't know what I mean by that, wait till chapter 4. Those two favorite books of mine, Ecclesiastes and the Songs of Solomon, don't pretend to be history. Other books of the Old Testament do. For example, Genesis, Exodus, Kings of Chronicles, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy are called the Pentateuch by Christians and the Torah by Jews. Moses is traditionally supposed to have written them, but no serious scholar thinks he did. As is the stories of Robin Hood and his merry men, or King Arthur and his Knight of the Round Table, there may be some obscure fragment of truth buried in the Pentateuch, but there is nothing you could call real history. The great ancestral myth of the Jewish people is their captivity in Egypt and their heroic escape to the promised land. That was Israel, the land flowing with milk and honey. The land God said should be theirs, and for which they fought the tribes who already lived there. The Bible obsessively repeats this legend, and the leader who is supposed to have led the Jews out of Egypt to the promised land was Moses, the same Moses who they believed was the author of the first 5 books of the Bible. You would think that such a big event as the enslavement of an entire nation and its mass migration generations later would have left trace in the archaeological record and in the written histories of Egypt. Unfortunately, there is no evidence of either kind. No evidence of anything like a Jewish captivity in Egypt. It probably never happened, although the legend is burned deep into Jewish culture. When the Bible mentions either God or Moses, their name is likely to be followed by "who brought you out of Egypt" or some equivalent phrase. The alleged escape from Egypt is remembered by Jews every year in the Feast of the Passover. Fiction or fact, it's not a pretty story. God wanted the Egyptian king, the Pharaoh, to set Israel's slaves free. You might have thought it would be within God's power to change Pharaoh's mind miraculously. He deliberately did the exact reverse, as we shall see. But first he put pressure on Pharaoh by sending a series of 10 plagues to Egypt. Each plague was nastier than the last, until eventually Pharaoh gave up and freed the slaves. Among them were plagues of painful boils, plagues of locusts, and darkness for 3 days. The final plague was the clincher, and it's this one the Passover commemorated. God killed the eldest child in every Egyptian household, but passed over the house of Jews, sparing their children. The Israelites were told to paint their door first with lamb's blood, so the angel of death could tell which houses to avoid on the child slaughtering spree. You'd think that God, being all-wise and all-knowing, might have been able to tell which house was which. But perhaps the worst thought, the lamb's blood, would add a nice splash of color to the story. Anyway, that was the legendary Passover event, which is still celebrated by Jews everywhere.